the truth is, remote jobs don't come from, you don't just get them. I must be very sincere. You must have had a good number of years of experience before a company can commit whatever you would have to do for you to do it remotely. Do you understand? I can't just trust that, you would do so well in a particular position by just sitting down at home and doing your job. Does that make sense? You must have, you must have had like a proven track record of working in a particular company, staying consistent, having results and all of that. So that is how you can eventually get a remote job in most cases, except for, say, anyway, I'll get to that. So just like I was trying to say that, as young Nigerians continue to migrate to foreign countries in droves, there's been a huge number of resignations across different sectors in the country. And this has led to vacant positions in different companies across the country with very few qualified people to fill up such positions. So we've been able to establish so far that there are opportunities out there. There are opportunities out there, and it's the truth. I'll give you a little bit of story around this. So at some point, many of these companies, they used to have like a very strict recruitment process, especially banks. You would have to have like a 2-1 or a first class before you can get some kind of bank jobs. But now, some banks have relaxed that. So if you have like a 2-2, it's easier for you. In fact, many of them relaxed it. And then also, COVID did something good too. As bad as COVID was, it also had its own advantage, because as a result of that, companies could not really trust that their employees could work from home. But COVID mandated that people had to stay back, and and to a large extent, a lot of people were able to get their job done well. So that actually shifted the whole recruitment process and how companies operate. So much so that a lot of companies now, in fact, they will tell you that a position is hybrid, meaning you can come to work maybe once in a day, and then every other day of the week you can work from home. Some companies operate that kind of model. Do you understand? So I will just tell you a little bit of how I went about my own process, and then I'll share some action points that we need to actually carry out, and then some opportunities that I'm privileged to know about, and then address some specific skill sets. Like, I know in church we have some people that are very good with diction. They speak Queen's English, so to speak. There are opportunities out there for people like that I'm actually privy to, because somebody that I know got a lot of jobs as a result of that. Okay, so I finished my MBA program in 2019, and then after MBA, of course, MBA is a postgraduate program now. So I went to school, graduated, and did all of that. And then after MBA, I had to sit down and ask myself that, what next? It can be very, very tough, especially when you're in this kind of environment. You actually are not sure which step to take, which direction to follow, and all of that. But back then in school, I didn't like software engineering. So I'm using my own experience as an example now. I never liked software engineering. So, software engineering requires building applications and all of that. Initially, it was just about building websites, but then there was like an advanced knowledge, and then, a lot of people now build applications and all of that. I didn't like all of that. And it's okay for you not to like something. These days you see everybody is trying to do one thing or the other, and then it's like there's that pressure that it has to be one thing. No, it doesn't have to be that. If you don't like it, please, just leave it. Do you understand? No, don't let anybody put you on that pressure. So I was also under pressure at some point, Back then, somebody told me, do software. I tried. 1 week, no, 1 month, 2 months, I was tired. I left it because it was not making sense to me. And I studied computer science and engineering, so I knew what it was all about, but it didn't just appeal to me. All right, so back to what I was trying to say. During my MBA program, I now sat down that, okay, I've always loved data. I'm into that field. So I've always loved data, and then I asked myself, how do companies actually leverage on data to make business decisions? I know that data is out there, but we have quite a number of companies that in Nigeria, I'm talking about Nigeria now, that they churn out a lot of data, but how are they using it to make business decisions? That was the beginning of the process for me. So shortly after my MBA program, I went online, started searching how to, just that kind of question, how businesses leverage data to make business decisions. I went online, I Googled, and then I saw, okay, what are the skill sets required? For some people, if you're going into business intelligence, you need to have a good understanding of Excel, Power BI, and some of those things. So I was doing my research, and then I got to a point where I understood that there is also another level that requires programming. So considering my background, I said, okay, let me try to explore this area first, and let me see how well I can thrive in that. So interestingly, I started Python programming and all of that, and it was good. It was a good experience. I could relate well with it. And so I'll talk about some things later that would help us to move from point A to point B, and then to point C, and then to that desired place where we are all longing for. It doesn't necessarily have to be a remote job. It doesn't necessarily have to be a remote job. I mean, in the first instance, you can start working with a good company, and then from there transition to getting a remote job. All right, so I started, and then got so good. I was consistent. I was very consistent because interesting story. Time was running out, and I needed to get something started. Do you understand? And that's to encourage us out there. Sometimes it may look like, time is running out. I don't know what to do. I'm confused and all of that. Just like I said, initially, don't let anybody put you under pressure. But make sure that you stay diligent, you stay consistent in that thing, that particular thing that interests you. Be very consistent with it. Try as much as possible to know all you can know about it. So I started the whole process of, learning, upskilling, and all of that. And eventually, I got to a place where I was confident enough to say, I think I want to go out now to get a job. Now, interestingly, my first job was not anything related to data. It wasn't anything related. So I was tired. 2020, I just woke up. 1st of January, I need to get a job this year. So what do I do? Now, I know I know somebody that runs a consulting firm here in Ibadan. He has been on this platform before, KBN. So I reached out to him, and then I told him that, sir, I would like to work for you. And then we started the talk and all of that. And he said, okay, fine. Send me your CV and all of that. And I did that. And I think after like a month, I got an offer from him. The money was small. The salary was very small, but I understood that if I can be consistent at that, then definitely something else would come. Do you understand? That which was going to come, I had no idea. Do you understand? So I was just following that process. So I got the job, I started working. It was a business, we were doing more of business development. Then at some point, I had to do some data analysis, small work. We had a project that we were doing for Bovas then. So, I explored that. But don't forget, I didn't relax on upskilling. I still kept at it, even though what I was doing was a little bit different from that. At some point, then I got to know that, okay, I reached out to my second employment. I don't want to start mentioning the name of some of these companies now. So my second employment, it happens that, okay, I know a friend who is an HR manager in the company. So after like close to a year, when I was beginning to feel like I think it's time to move on, so I reached out to the person. I told the person that, please, I'm interested in this particular role. If at any point in time there's vacancy. So I just told the person, a very good friend of mine. And then the person kept me at heart. And then suddenly I got a message from the person that, oh, there's an opening now for that which I actually wanted. Do you understand? So got so good, everything played out well. I interviewed, I got the offer. That was in 2021. Just 1 year. So I worked in my first employment for just 1 year. So got so good, the whole thing happened, And then I transitioned from the business development into data analysis. Fantastic. The experience was good. So in the process, I was beginning to now use that which I've been learning over time. So it made it easier for me. I'm going to be highlighting some of the important steps that need to be taken for us so that we can understand how this whole thing plays out. I'll get there very soon. So I did that and got so good. The experience was, of course, I had the boss. I was not the head of the department. I was like the second. Yeah, I was the second. And then there was a younger colleague that came around at some point. So we started doing a lot of things, solving business problems. It was good. It was fast. There's nothing as good as you learning something in school and then applying it. There's nothing as beautiful as that. So all of that happened, and eventually, now let me tell you how much can happen in a very little time. So I was not thinking of leaving that company. That was towards the end of 2022, last year. I was not thinking of leaving the company. All of a sudden, I got a message on LinkedIn from another company about a vacancy in their company. So I was like, okay, I didn't take them seriously, number one, because they are not popular. We always sometimes, think about all of that, am I sure I want to actually leave this company for a company where I know nobody, I don't know anything about them. That's initial sentiment. So thank God I didn't make the mistake of discarding them. So I said, okay, fine, let's just play around with this opportunity. So I was invited for an interview. I think I had about 3 or 4 interviews. So the first interview was just me gisting about, okay, what I do in, where I was and all of that. And, they said, okay, fine. Oh, no, that was not the first thing. I took a test, a programming test. That programming test, let me be very honest with you, I failed it because I didn't want them to disturb me. I didn't want them to come back. So I intentionally, it was supposed to be for 1 hour. I took the test for 15 minutes. Yes. But I answered specific questions that I knew weren't going to take my time. You know why? I had a lot I was doing. So there was no time to, because I didn't know them. I didn't know how much they were willing to go, they would be willing to offer me. And mind you, I already had other gigs that I was already working on. So a lot was going on. So I didn't take them seriously. I failed it. And then suddenly, after like a few weeks, I got an email from them that they were going to be interviewing me. Like, interviewing me for what? As far as I'm concerned, we don't have any business again now. I failed your test, leave me alone. But they called me for an interview, and okay, I said, let me now start taking this thing seriously. So we spoke, and it looked like it was good. And then I was now told to take another test this time around. That one was not timed. So they gave me a deadline. I said, no, I can't submit the analysis when you want me to submit it because I have a lot going on. Can you give me till this particular day? And they said, that's fine. So I did that and I submitted. I forgot about it. After a while, I got another message that, you have moved to the next stage of the interview and all of that. And I was like, oh, really? Okay, I'm enjoying this now. Let's continue. So I did that, and, I now had to start selling myself because I know that they were a little bit serious. And then that happened. And then eventually the last interview was with the CTO of the company. So that day, it was very funny. I was not, all of those interview process, I was not prepared. I was not trying to, I was not trying to figure out what to say and what not to say. I was just talking normally. And then the last stage of the interview came, and eventually I got an offer. The day I got the offer, I was almost crying that, God, what if I had taken these people for granted? Do you understand? It was quite emotional for me because I didn't expect that all of that could happen in the space of 3 years. I mean, the transition from where I was initially. I started my first paid employment in 2020. That's why I said that don't let anybody pressure you. Don't be discouraged if you're at that phase where you're still trying to figure out what to do, and how to go about your career path and all of that. So it was quite emotional, and I had to thank God that what if I didn't even respond to the first message I got from the HR, So, interestingly, it was supposed to be an hybrid role. Like I'm supposed to. The company has an office here in Ibadan. The headquarters is in Lagos. So it's supposed to be an hybrid road. That means I'm supposed to go to the office, I think, twice in a week and all of that. And then subsequently, I could work from home. So I went there for, okay, the first day I resumed, I went to the office somewhere at Oluyole there. So I was there. I was the only person in my department, in Ibadan. Rather, we had other people in Lagos. In fact, the majority of the team members are in Lagos. We have someone in Ife, someone in Ilorin, and then I think someone in Abuja. We're like 11. So I got there, and then I had to ask people around that, oh, what about this company and all of that. So they started telling me it's a good experience and all of that. So after like 2 weeks, I didn't see any other person in my department show up in the office. So I didn't even have to talk to my manager. So I just figured out that I could work from home. They don't care. Just get your job done. Because there's like an experience that you've had, that I have had over, a number of years that, I was just fine working from home. So eventually I just stopped going to the office entirely. Like there's no point going from, wasting, that commute time is actually very significant. Imagine doing that every day, especially when you're in Lagos. It can be very discouraging. Okay, so based on everything I've said, I'm going to be highlighting some of the action points that we need to take. Number one, expand your social capital. Don't try to be closed up. Try to reach out to people. You have friends that are in one company or another. Do you get? You have people that have left the country, left a job, and then to travel out. Have you ever reached out to any of them to say that this particular job, what if, like, I'm interested in getting it, how can I go about it? I'm sure the easiest way to get jobs these days is by referrals. Do you understand? So if I'm going to leave that, in fact, somebody resigned recently, and I thought about it that this is a vacant seat, practically, like this is a vacant seat. Somebody would be needed to actually fill that role. So who's going to be the person? How would the person be able to get the job? Do you understand? So it's important it's advantageous when we have first-hand information about job openings, and your chances of being considered are higher when you get a referral from someone who has worked in a company. Please, don't take that for granted. Referrals work a whole lot, especially for those that are interested in tech jobs. And not necessarily tech jobs, now any kind of job. Timmy is in a particular company. If he's going to leave at the end of the day, he can tell you what to do to actually get that particular job, I'm sure. I think you work as a nurse, right? A government job. If you're going to leave, you can practically tell this person that do this, do that, and then most likely you will get this job. It's easier that way. And interesting thing is, there are several people on LinkedIn who we can easily connect with, and they can just give you what you've been struggling to get. I must be very sincere. They can give you easily, and I'll get there very soon. So, second one, look out for job openings in companies where you can develop your skill sets. Just like I said, don't let anybody pressure you. But once you have found that thing that you're actually comfortable doing, please start looking for companies where you can, develop your skill set. So what do I mean by that? If you're interested in tech, do you understand? So work in a company where that the tech skill, I don't know, it could be product management, it could be cyber security, it could be data science, it could be anything. Make sure that you are targeting a particular company where you can start utilizing some of those skill sets. So that way you build competence and then you have experience, hands-on experience. So don't be too focused on the pay. I wasn't too focused on the pay in my first job. The salary was not, in fact, it was not good, and it was not even consistent. Till now, I'm still being owed salary. But where I am now, I've forgotten all about those, the early days, because it doesn't matter anymore. But, sometimes we look at the pay like, no, the pay is discouraging. I don't want this job just because of the pay. And then we miss out on a lot of opportunities that might come our way just because we took that kind of job. Do you understand now? So please don't be too focused on the pay, especially when you don't even have experience at all. Do you understand? So most importantly, your experience can be a leverage for a better pay in a subsequent employment. The best way to increase your income as a career person is to transition from one company to another company. Now, when companies do appraisals, the most you can get usually is about 10-20% raise. Do you understand? But if you leave company A for company B, most likely you can get an 100% raise. Can I shock you? You can get as much as 900% raise. Can I shock you? You can get as much as 1,200% raise. So that means if you were earning 20,000 naira in company A, if another company finds a lot of value, they know that you're a person of value, you can deliver on the job, they can decide to pay as much as 200,000. I'm not joking. So we need to take that seriously. So at that point, when you're earning 200K, that 20K, you would have forgotten that, you know, you were in a job where you were being paid 20,000 naira. It's not going to matter anymore. And the truth is, if another company is going to reach out to you, they are not going to be offering you 200,000 because they will ask you, how much do you want us to pay you? They will ask you. They will always ask. And if you are very smart, you know, you understand what I'm saying now? You raise the bar. But make sure that you can deliver on the job. That is also very important. The third thing I have here is, the third action point is, sometimes you can cold email a company. So say you're not getting any interview opportunity, nobody's reaching out to you. You know, you've done everything you're supposed to do, but nobody's reaching out to you. Sometimes you can cold email a company. And what do I mean by that? So I can look at Toyota, for example, and try to figure out the kind of problem that they might be having currently. And how can I figure that out? I can either talk to somebody that's there, that is working in that company, or start doing my own research. Usually, there are so many information out there online that you can leverage on. So by the time you start doing that, you begin to have like a perspective about a particular company, and then based on that, you can say that, okay, I think this is going to be like a problem in this company, and I should be able to, you know, if you have that skill set, based on that, you can just write an email to whoever, maybe the HR. Usually companies have like a career email that you can easily just reach out to them. They're also looking for talents, so they put themselves out there as well. So once you do that, sometimes they might reach out to you, sometimes they might not. Another strategy is to look for their handle on social media, especially Twitter. I did that. Good. I did that with a company. Yeah, the company is in Lagos. Before I got my second employment, I did that because I felt, okay, let me just see how this was going to work out. Interestingly, they reached out, but there was never a deal. In most cases, they might reach out when they know that you have something of value to offer. So you can also do that. And then also get on LinkedIn for visibility. Please get on LinkedIn for visibility. No matter how little your experience is, it is very, very important. If I wasn't on LinkedIn, in fact, I had a LinkedIn account, I think shortly after school, but you know, there was no experience now. So what was I going to put on my LinkedIn account? I just left it. So after my first employment, my second employment, I decided to now, you know, upgrade it and all of that. And interestingly, it was on that same LinkedIn that I got my current employment. So imagine if I wasn't there, that opportunity would just have gone like that. So please get on LinkedIn, do whatever you need to do. You don't even necessarily have to have an experience. So if you're learning a particular skill and then you have like a structured, maybe a bootcamp program that you're using to learn, you can actually put that there. It also counts. So for instance, there's data camp, there are several of them, you know, Google, all these Google courses and all of that. So you can actually put all of those skill sets that you are, you know, learning on LinkedIn. It counts at the end of the day. The fourth thing I'm going to be talking about is upskilling consistently. Be diligent and tap into the grace of God, the grace that God has made available. And you know, sometimes our path to prosperity might not necessarily come by us owning our own business. Let me say that again. Your path to prosperity might not necessarily come from you owning a business. It might be from you working for a particular company. You know, sometimes we get carried away about, I just want to be a boss of my own. You know, it's fancy, it's cool. But sometimes it might not come from there. It might just come from you actually taking up some very funny kind of jobs, and then from there you get to meet people. Don't forget, you are meeting people as you are transitioning from one job to another. You are meeting people. Some of my friends that we work together now are, okay, school, and then some of them, I met them while, working with some of these companies. And today, that is something I do. I get jobs from different, some companies, some individuals in the UK, in the US, some gigs. And sometimes I can't even handle all of these gigs alone. Who do I think of? So, reaching out to my network. Do you understand? So, it works. You just have to leverage on some of those relationships. And once you have the ability to deliver, you would most likely get that desired job. It might take a while, but it takes a lot of discipline, a lot of consistency. Yeah, that's another thing I need to emphasize on. Sometimes we start something, and then as a result of the rigor, sometimes it can be very rigorous, especially if you're in tech. Like very discouraging, having to learn one thing like over and over and over again might be very discouraging. Some kind of jobs are a little bit easy. Say you just have the ability to do, I don't want to start mentioning specifics now, but you understand what I'm trying to say now. But the moment you stay consistent, you are diligent, devoting about at least an hour every day can go a long way at the end of the day. And you'll be amazed at how much growth you would experience. So I'm going to talk about an opportunity that I'm actually privy to, and it has to do with people that are into diction, teaching students how to speak good English and all of that. I think, yeah, so that would apply to Liobin as well. Okay, so someone I know reached out to me October 2022. She said she needed a domiciliary account for her to get money paid into. So I asked her, where's the money coming from? Because you can't just use my account for something I don't know about. So she told me that, she was actually teaching, I think, children from, I'm trying to remember the name of the country now. So in short, she was teaching how students how to speak good English. Do you understand? And the first pay she got was $182. $182. Just by sitting down at home, teaching. You are not doing lesson plan, oh. You are not doing lesson plan. Yeah, I'm actually serious. But before then, she actually underwent a training. She got a certificate. So it's not automatic. I'm going to mention the websites that we can actually, check all of the details. So she did that, and eventually I got the money for her, sent it to her account, and she was very happy. I thought it was just going to end there. By November, the following month, she reached out again that, please, I don't have an account yet. She was trying to open her own account, and she said this time around she's going to be getting $216 in 1 month. Now, there's no job in Nigeria that I'm aware of that you would get increments, that kind of increments monthly. There's no job that I'm aware of. I was like, okay, interesting. So I had to now talk to her that, tell me about this thing. How does it work? And then she told me that, okay, you'd have to take a training, do this, do that, and I'm going to get there very soon. That's not the end of the story. By December last year, she reached out again. Okay, no, I think I asked her. So by then, she had opened her account. So I just asked her that, this time around, how much did they pay you? Guess what? She said she was paid $336. $336. Multiply that by 750. That's the value of that money in Naira. Do you understand? So, I now said to myself that, wow, this is quite interesting. Quite interesting, because you can actually sit down at home, teach, get paid, and work for as long as you want. It's flexible. You can decide when to teach and when not to teach. Usually, there are students from, say, countries like all these Chinese companies. Countries in Asia. You know, many of them don't know how to speak good English, and it's not necessarily just about teaching students. Do you understand? There are people that want to go on a business trip that they need to communicate in English. So you need to now have a call with them that this is how you're going to greet, this is how you're going to talk, you know, and it works and they pay you. Of course, a company would have to employ you first before you can start that. So now, another gist. By April this year, I asked her, how much are you getting now? She said she's close to $700 from 182 in October. $700. So when she said that, I was like, oh, this is good. From 182 in October to $700 in December. In April. Within how many months? There's no job. There's no job. There's no job. There's no appraisal that you can do that they will give you that kind of raise. There's none. So for people that are actually interested, please, you must be able to speak Queen's English. And you can actually develop yourself. You can actually develop yourself to, you know, talk like like Liami. So the website is EWNY consultancy.org. EWNY consultancy.org. So you can go on the website to check all of the details. It's important to, of course, you have to be trained. You would get a certificate. But the only issue you might have is how to get payment. So some companies will tell you that you have to be on PayPal before they can pay you. And you know PayPal in Nigeria, there are a lot of issues around PayPal. Do you understand? But we can always find a way around that. You might be lucky enough to get to work for a company that can easily send your money to somebody else that can help you cash it out, just like she did when she reached out to me. Do you understand now? So do what you have to do. Go on the website, you know, explore. You can reach out to the business owner. You can easily send a message to her on WhatsApp. I think you can get her phone number and all of those details right there. So that, I'm very confident, works and is legitimate. So we can maximize that. All right. Sorry, sir, how much time do I have? All right. Okay, so in conclusion, I would want to emphasize on something, and that is the aspect of expanding our social capital. So let me tell you another story, how I started getting gigs. So I got to know somebody on Twitter, you know, social media. We all use social media. The question is, what do you do on social media? Do you understand? What do you do on social media? So randomly, I saw that this person was consistent in tweeting about artificial intelligence and how to apply that in journalism. So that was his own main area. That was in my interest because AI can be applied in several fields. So, but based on that, I saw that it was consistent. He had some international exposure. Do you understand? So I reached out to randomly. You know, when we talk about sliding into someone's DM, you know, I practically did that, and we started talking. Interestingly, at some point, he said he was going to like host a small talk in Lagos. So I went to Lagos, not because I wanted to do anything related to journalism, but I knew that this man had people around him that, you know, would most likely be giving him gigs and all of that. So I did that. We started talking. No, during the whole conference and all of that, it wasn't even a conference. We were just very few, you know, like 3 rows like this. And then I was just listening. I was listening. So after the whole talk, and then everybody started introducing themselves and all of that, I was a little bit shy because I was like, am I sure I really want to do this? But I summed up courage, and I reached out to him, and then I told him about what I do, my own core interest in, you know, data science and all of that, because they are very related. So we exchanged numbers, and that was it. But I didn't just let it go like that. I made sure that I was, talking to him and all of that. So eventually, he saw that I was consistent. A lot of people came that day. In fact, there was a WhatsApp group. Do you understand? But the way the hype now, when you attend a seminar, a conference, everybody, the engagement level is usually very high at the initial stage. But after a while, everything just drops. So he wanted to actually get people to, talk and let us keep sharing ideas and all of that. But at some point, that didn't work. But I didn't limit myself. I started talking to him at, back door. Do you understand now? I was doing all of that. And interestingly, by December, I think that was in 2019, he gave me my first data science gig. 60K, I can't forget that day. 60,000 naira, small analysis. Do you understand? Now, that wasn't even interesting enough. So at some point, he needed to leave the country. He left Nigeria for the UK. And so he had like a friend who was also in Nigeria who had moved to the UK as well. And then this guy had a lot of projects that he was going to do in the UK. So, of course, I was the one keeping the communication, I was always communicating with him. So it was easy for him to just remember that, oh, there's one guy in Nigeria that this thing will be beneficial to, because he didn't have all the time to attend to that. So he told the person, and then the person reached out, and then that was how the interaction started. And to be very candid, that was like a major breakthrough, because that same person referred me to several other people, and it was just like wildfire, And the moment you can get that job, that particular job, whatever it is, it could be video editing, it could be photography, it could be anything. The moment you can get, especially for people in the diaspora, they don't have time. The hourly economy there is a whole lot. It puts them under a lot of pressure. So they need people that can quickly get things done for them. They'll send you money. They can either send you in pounds, in dollars. In fact, you can tell them that, no, I don't want it in naira. Send it in pounds. Provided you have an account that you can, They don't have the time. They would reach out to you. And once you close a deal successfully, that is it. Once you close a deal successfully, that is it. They will keep reaching out. They will tell somebody else about you. In fact, somebody will ask you that, can you actually do this and that? In fact, they will tell you to go and look for somebody else that can actually do something else that you don't know how to do. Because they just trust you, and then they believe you can get the job done. So I'm encouraging us here that we shouldn't limit ourselves to whatever situation or circumstance that I'm quite aware of quite a lot of things that can discourage us. Because I've been there before, just like I said. I didn't start my paid employment until 2020, the COVID year, as ridiculous as that year was. Do you understand? So, and I was over 30. Do you understand? So that's to tell you that a lot can happen once you start taking steps, deliberate steps. And so, please, let us try as much as possible, expand your social network, do what you have to do, and then eventually your talent would eventually pave way once you get an opportunity. And I'm sure that going forward in KBN, we will start recording a lot of successful stories in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you so much.
Please, can we appreciate him more? Thank you. Thank you, Bro Ife. I'm sure we are learning something. Well, big sorry for those who are coming late, because this session, they have just missed it. Mommy will be coming up shortly for the career section. So I just want us to get prepared for that session. But before Mommy comes up, I just need to bring to our awareness that the federal government is hosting a, so to speak, more like a digital scholarship for Nigerians for trainings in various areas in IT. So the training is free, certification is free. You just need to avail yourself the opportunity. The list is very, very long. I just quickly want to run through it. I pasted the link on our family page at a time, but I don't know if we engaged it when it was posted. There's opportunity for front-end developers, back-end developers, Android developers, user experience, cloud computing, data engineering, data science professionals, data analytics, IT support, cybersecurity, DevOps engineers, social media marketing, digital marketing and e-commerce, machine learning practitioners, game designers, game programmers, software testing and automation professional, artificial intelligence practitioners. Now, all of these will be delivered, okay, via a platform sponsored by the federal government, but then there are different tracks. If it's for career readiness, you indicate. If it's for digital readiness, you indicate. If you just want to learn it to be a standalone entrepreneur, that's also there. If you also want to learn it to be a freelancer and you make money with your skill, so that's also available. So in addition to the digital skill, they'll be giving you sideline trainings in these streams. Just to, so I'll post the link again. That's for those of us who are interested in tech. Like Brefe said, it doesn't really have to be one thing. They say, it's data now, it's data now. And you let everybody just begin to go. And then you enter into it and you just go. You know, there was one some posts some months ago, one picture you posted on your status. It showed two, blobs carrying somebody on a stretcher, and then the person they were carrying on a stretcher said, "I don't know data science was this terrible." It was so funny. I'm like, praise God. So, but but the point is, I think the takeaway from this last talk was that we should things can be done. Things can be done. How do I put it now? Online, okay. You can do things remotely. Now, interestingly, by just being available for people listening to complaints about I'm feeling like this, I'm feeling like that, I just discovered that, man, somebody can just be an online doctor and just be treating people, So I saw that, and when I call back to check, you are doing fine, okay, fine. Well, really? Perhaps, But then, I'm just saying, who would have thought that you could be a medical doctor online? So what it means is that for traditional skills, there's still something to leverage on. Just being online. Okay, please, I just want us to explore that. Get on LinkedIn. Let's expand our reach. Let's ensure that we are not just limited to the network we are seeing with our physical eyes, but let's expand the reach. Okay, and we know that if we apply these things, we'll go far. Okay, even if you're a makeup artist, there are consultings you can do. I'm thinking, I don't know, but I mean, you can say, I don't know, something is possible. You may just think that, well, my clients have to be right in front of me for me to decorate their faces, but I'm sure there's something that can be done differently. Maybe consult on people, tell people what sets of colors they should use for their makeup, giving their shape face, giving their complexion. That's also consulting. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah, so, I mean, I don't think there's anything that cannot be tweaked and be given, and online presence. Okay, so, I don't know if Mommy is ready. Okay. All right, so please, let's appreciate Mommy as she comes up for the career development section. Please, let's appreciate her.
Good morning, everybody. Okay, so I don't like this sitting arrangement. It's not really very good. We look scattered. So what we are going to do is that we are going to fill these 2 seats so that there can be high contact. So make sure that, so everybody should come towards, okay, maybe about from, you can stay because you'll still be able to have eye contact. From those sitting here, move to this side. Then those on the other side. Then at the back, all the ushers, please come forward. We only need 1 usher at the door. So let's everybody move forward. Even the nursing mothers, please just move forward. I don't want us scattered. Only the children should stay at the back. So if you are there, you should move to this side. There is seat in front now. Why are you running away? Pastor Dayo, and move to this side. I don't want anybody at that end. Pastor Dayo, come and sit in front. Dami, I said move to this place. We went back to that place. Simple instruction. Nobody should sit at that end. So sit on these 2 rows. I don't want anybody at that other side. It's always difficult to. So if you're on these 2 sides and then in front, it will be easier. And make sure that there is no seat in front of you. There's no empty space in front of you. Okay, so please let me distribute this. You're going to fill this questionnaire before. Okay. I don't want us to put name there. Just put your initials. That's all. So 5 minutes, just fill the questionnaire, and then we would comment. Teju, I said nobody should sit there. Hey, it's Sherikpe Shanshan show láti keep. I was the one that said it. He was not the one that said it. The auditorium is dark. Why is it dark at the back? Technical people, do we need as much people there? It's not enough. Has it finished? Okay. If you don't have a question, let me see your hand. Beatrice, please call Amaka that they should increase the number of the other ones they are bringing. Hello, Beatrice, listen to the instruction. So tell her to print the CV. She should print extra copies. And then for the personal statement, she should print. Let me see your hands up so that I can know how many. Please, can somebody count so that we can know how much extra we're going to print. So tell her to print 20 extra copies for the CV and the personal statements. So for those of you that don't have, who is done, just get a paper and then I would dictate the question and then you would fill it. Just tear a sheet of paper. And then, who has not filled so that I can use that to dictate? No, as in you have a copy, but you've not started filling. Okay, so just fill it. Okay, so for those that don't have, I'm going to read it out. So get a paper and put 36 to 45. If you are within 46 to 55, then put 46 to 55. So let me read the age bracket again. 15 to 25, 26 to 35, 36 to 45. I'm sure we don't have anybody above 45. Pastor GP is not here, so all of us are still within that age. So then, the address, I don't know why they put address here, it's not necessary. Educational attainment, let me give you the options, so you pick the one that applies to you. No formal education, primary, secondary, OND, HND, BSc, MSc, PhD. So if you don't have anything here, then you can put others. Then you specify what that others actually means. Then number 6, your occupation. So write what you do. Don't write it in your jotter because I'm going to collect that paper. Then that's so the next aspect, the 7th question, current employment. Are you government employed? Private? Do you work with a private company? Then self-employed. So Gideon, you're not doing anything. So which number are you? Okay. Oh. Number 7, current employment, government employed, private, then self-employed. Then number 8, your appointment start date. If you're working with maybe a government or a private, and if you're self-employed, when you started your business, so write the appointment or start date of business. Then number 9 is the monthly allowance. So I'm going to list a category. That's your monthly income. So you have list a category, then you write the one that applies to you. So the first category is if you earn between 20 to 50,000. So you don't need to write how much, just write 20 to 50,000. The second category, 50,000 to 99,000. Then the third category, 100,000 to 150,000. The fourth category, 150,000 to 200,000. Then the last one, 200,000 and above. Let me list it again. First category, 20,000 to 50,000. Second category, 50,000 to 99,000. Third category, 100,000 to 150,000. Next one, 150,000 to 200,000. Then the last one, 200,000 and above. Then number 10, do you have a CV? Yes or no? That's number 10. Number 11, if yes, when last was it updated? So you write the last time you updated your CV. Then number 12, do you have a personal statement? That's yes or no. So you write either yes or you write no. Then number 13, if yes, when was the last time you updated it? So you put a date to that. Then number 14, what is your current job role? As in what you do currently. So just put it there. Then number 15, how many promotions have you had on your current job? That's number 15. So let me start from number 10 again. Number 10, do you have a CV? Yes or no? Number 11, if yes, when was the last time you updated it? Number 12, do you have a personal statement? Yes or no? If yes, when was the last time you updated it? Then number 15, how many promotions have you had on your current job? Then number 16 now, in 5 sentences. So we have A, B, C, D. In 5 sentences, can you state your career goal in the next 5 years? In the next 5 years. Sorry, that was a typographical error. In the next 5 years. Number 16, your career goal in the next 5 years. So A, B, C, D, E. Then number 17, I'll give you time to fill it, but so that you just know. Then number 17 is just an additional question to that. You now list, it's also A, B, C, D. List 5 steps you will use to achieve this, your goal. The goals you've listed in number 16. So now list, number 17 is now just state some of the things you feel you would need to do in order to achieve that, your goal. So are we all good? It's not jam question now. Those are, you should be done by now. Especially those that have the questionnaire. If you don't get any of the question, you can ask people with the questionnaire so that you can have a look at what they are doing. And then... Eh? So, I think we can start. Okay, let me give us 2 extra minutes and then we would start. don't worry, to be confidential, because we'll go through it, and for some of you, you might need to help you out with certain things. So I think you should just put your name. If you don't mind, but if you mind, just put only your initials. If you don't mind, put your names, but if you mind, then just put only your initials. So let's make it voluntary. Okay, I think we should start. So we should be done by now. Okay, so let's move on. So this morning we'll be looking at preparing for a career, how to prepare. Well, I'm sure every one of us already have maybe a career path or something. So it won't really be, even though it's preparing for a career, but what we'll be looking at is more than preparing for a career. So one way I would like us to look at career, is that one mindset you should have about career is that you should see career paths is like a journey. So you should view your career as a journey that has a start point, and then this thing is not very okay. I think the one you can see very well with this one. I think it's this one that is not very clear, it's not very bold. So you should see your career as a journey. It has a start point, and there are different junctions, bus stop, and everything. And definitely, of course, it should have an end point in view. Most times, all of us we don't really view our career or businesses, that way. You just see it more as, we are just doing it, we are living every day. But really, ideally, it should be viewed as a journey. So, and then you should know your heart, you should have an end point. And you will see this one, I've put these are just suggestions, different end points that, of course, there's going to be a time, if you're a government employed person, there's an end point. There's a time you're going to retire. At least if we don't expect you as a individual to do anything, that will make them sack you. But, of course, the end point should be that you want to retire. There are certain kind of career that the end points, you can get to a point whereby you yourself, you become an employer. That you can now start, even though it's a career that you've developed, but you end up, also employing others. And then you could have end points. Some career actually will bring you to a point whereby you come into governance and you can determine policies. You must start thinking that way, that you become a policy maker. How do you think people make policies? There was a time that secondary school was just 5 years, and all of a sudden changed to 6 years. How did it change to 6 years? There are actually some people in education that grew up to a particular stage in their career, and they were able to influence, the curriculum and say, okay, maybe the curriculum is not, 5 years is not enough to cover the curriculum. Maybe they wanted to add something to the curriculum. All this, what we have in the UK, in the US, all these teaching children about LGBT, about all their rights to change, transgender, and all those things. It was the policy makers that started bringing it into their curriculum. Issue about teaching small children about sex education. They were policy makers. They were people that grew up to a particular post, in their career, and they became policy makers that influenced those decisions. So your career can actually be, it can actually move beyond the point whereby it's not just for you to just send your children to school, do well in life. It can actually move to a point that it becomes, an avenue through which you can be one of the policy makers. You come to a state of, you get to a particular place in your career that you can actually influence policies, that would affect the society. So that's the way you should view career. It might not even be maybe at the federal government. It might be even in your place of work. You become part. You rise to a point that you become part of the directors. You can determine a whole lot of things that happens, in your place of work. So that's why I said that. So it's like a journey. You start from somewhere, but you should have like a picture of what the end, of that career is supposed to lead to. Next slide, please. So, I'm sure all of us already have one thing or the other, a career path that we have chosen. And you should ask yourself, why have I chosen this career path? It's something that you should ask yourself. So I want you to turn the back of your questionnaire and write the reason why you chose your career path. So, reason for my chosen career path. So just write it in just 2 sentences, not more than 2 sentences. The reason for your career path. The reason why you chose your career path. And Isaac, you are too far. Come forward. I don't want people staying at that back. You see, you shouldn't leave your house on Saturday morning. You shouldn't leave your house and come for a business and career seminar, and then you go back without, gaining everything that you are supposed to gain from that meeting. It's better to stay in your house and wash clothes and watch film and rest, because tomorrow is Sunday. We spend the whole day in church. So I want us to really maximize that opportunity and not get distracted. So let's move on to the next slide. So we will see we are still going to check out some of those things. So you see there are different reasons why people choose their career. Some of the common responses that you see people say is that some people say that to make a difference by positively impacting the society. So you see some people say that, okay, I chose this career path because I have a burden, to want to impact the society. Some people just look at, okay, just provide service, and a noble and you see it as a noble and challenging way to invest your intellect, your skills, and passion in a demanding and rewarding profession. So like what CEO does, that's Bro Ife does, he's providing a service. It takes a lot of intellect, skills, and all that. And so he's investing that, he provides a particular service. So it's a career path, but it is providing a particular kind of service. For some people, it's money. The reason why they are in that career path is that Pastor was saying, telling us just now that many people are running into data science because they feel, that's where the money is. So people run there. Some people, it's because of money. There's money in this thing. Let's go and do it. And then from some, it is because they don't have any choice. They were forced into that career path because they don't have a choice. That was what was actually available. So maybe you've looked for a job. Sorry to teachers, I'm not trying to shade you. Maybe you've looked for a job and just go and take a teaching employment in one school and be teaching, So it might not really be that is what you really want to do, and there's no job. We are going to do customer service somewhere, go and do secretary somewhere. You just take the job because that is actually what is available. So there are different reasons why people choose their career path. But the most important thing, like I said, is that when you have chosen a path, just so that it is a journey. And are you ready to walk that journey to the end? And if you found yourself in a path that you don't really necessarily want, and you cannot get yourself out of it because that is what is available for now, then you have to look for a way to journey well in that part. What did I say? So for someone like me now, I didn't want to do medicine. I wanted to do computer, but my parents wanted me to be a doctor because then they felt that if you want to do computer science, especially official business center, computer, that was their own idea of computer science then, because they felt that computer was just about opening business center, you are typing. That was what I wanted, but because I was very good in maths. Maths was natural to me, and I didn't really like sitting down to read. So, but of course, I found myself in medicine. In fact, at some point, I wanted to leave medicine. While I was still studying medicine, I just felt this medicine thing, I don't like it at all. It doesn't even fit my flair, my personality, my kind of person. So, but I found myself there and I've graduated. When I graduated, I wanted to take a job at the bank because then bank was really, when we did our job, we were collecting 70,000 or 80,000. My younger brother, we finished at the same time. If he did a 4-year course, I did a 6-year course turned into 9 years. So by the time we finished, we were together, we got employed at the same time. When I was earning 80,000 naira, then was already earning 280,000 as a banker at Intercontinental Bank. So, and we had connections. So I was telling my uncle that, I want to, because really there were people that did medicine that crossed into banking. And they did ICANN and they did all that. So I also wanted to cross, but everybody valued medicine in my house apart from me. If I remember them, my sister was a banker. She told me that, I don't like medicine. I already become a doctor. Say, if they give me then she would say, if I say I should pay 3 million to add doctors in front of my name, that I will pay it. But I was think I come back, so you understand? So I wanted to change, but I could not change. So I couldn't, my uncle did not allow me to get the job in banking. So maybe I would have been in banking now. So, but of course, when I now found out there was nothing else I could do, I stayed in that part. But I did not just stay and just stay. Yeah. So now I had to look at, I started this career path, and it has an end. I have to journey in that path. And I have to do what? I have to journey well. So there are times that you find yourself in a place that is not really what you want to do, maybe a bar or something, all of those things. But even if you find yourself there and you cannot get yourself out of that path, and already, like I tell people, you're already in a path, you spend 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, and you still don't have any destination in mind. I'm thinking one day I will get. You have to start looking for a way to define a journey in that path, or you define an exit out of that career path. You shouldn't spend 15 years in a career or 10 years and then that's why you're I'm looking for how now. It's just a sheer waste of time. So those are some of the reasons why I try to share that so you can know that sometimes we find ourselves where we don't want to find ourselves. But God is faithful. Say God is faithful. And one beautiful thing about it is that because you are a believer, you must also understand that there are times that no matter what, even if you feel that is a mistake, you did the wrong course, you did whatever, all things work together for good. For them that do what? Love God. There is nothing God cannot. Even if you find yourself in a place that you don't want to find yourself, God can still use that thing. Even in that, even if you feel it is a seemingly disadvantaged career, God can still work things out together for your good. So you must also have that at the back of your mind as a believer. What did I say? There was a time I used to really be very hungry with my job, but after a while I got comfortable with it, and I just agreed with God that God, you allowed it, and I know that you can still use this to work out your salvation, to work out being a blessing. There are so many frustrated people in government job. If you go to secretariats, that they don't like their job. And when you go there, you want to get things done, they express their frustration, to you. You shouldn't be like that. Even if you don't like your job, you must still find a place with that scripture that I've told you to know that God can still use you as a blessing in that place. So I just had in my mind that I won't put my frustration on my patients or people I work with. So I do my job very well. I do my job I do it with all pleasure, with all joy. In fact, you won't know that initially that I didn't want to be a doctor. You won't have that impression. So whatever you find yourself doing, you must make sure that you find a purpose in it, and then you allow God to express himself through that career. Amen. So next slide, please. So for example, let's look at if for example choosing a career path. Even though I know many of us are in a career, but I just want to still just refresh our mind. When you want to choose a career path, I know that some people now maybe are still at the early stage, and you might even want to change, or maybe you have not even defined. You don't have a clear definition of the career you want to do. But the first important thing is that you must have a sense of direction. I tell people that is very important. And at whatever stage, you should have a sense of direction. And I'm saying this not just because we are also believers. A sense of direction is also very good while choosing career. We don't just judge things by the way you see it, what you feel, what people say. There's also a place of having a sense of direction, either divinely orchestrated or based on, you have considered so many things, and then you have come to a particular judgment about that issue. So you see that I'm not spiritualizing everything. Because some people stay in this area. God has not given me direction. He has not given me direction. He has not given me direction. Sometimes God gives us a definite sense of direction. But in some cases, you might not have that. That you just look at you are still going to look at those other things. What you have, what you readily have, what you've studied, what is available, and then you just, how I put it, you can even look at, I know Pastor used to, I've attended some of your business, whatever, so sometimes you create even things based on the need in the environment. So you might even go to school and maybe you studied engineering, and then you see that there is problem with waste. And then you can, if you have resources, you can decide to develop a company that wants to look at waste management based on that gap in the society. So, but the first thing that is important is that you should have a sense of direction. So now being a Christian is now an added advantage, because you have the Holy Spirit that knows all things. So that is an added. So I don't believe that there should be any believer that should not have a sense of direction.
Yes, thank you.
What did I say? They should not have. In fact, if at that point things have not become clear, you know that God is putting you in a waiting time, and you can clearly say that, see, this is what God is telling me. Not that I don't know, I don't even know, I'm not clear. There should be a sense of direction. So let's look at it. Teach me to do thy will, for thou art my God. Thy spirit is good. Lead me into the land of uprightness. So the Holy Spirit can actually help us. There is a place of God's leading. What did I say? There's a place of God's leading in our career. And as Christians, we can also take advantage of that. Let's look at the next scripture. Give ear and hear my voice. Hearken and hear my speech. Doth the plowman plow all day to sow? Doth he open and break the clods of his ground? When he hath made plain the face thereof, does he not cast abroad the fishes, and scatter the cumin, and casting the principal wheat, and appointed barley and the rye in their place? For his God doth instruct him to discretion, and doth teach him. So God can give you a sense of direction. Can tell you, okay, this is what you should do. This is the path I want you to go. Verse 27. For the fishes are not threshed with a threshing instrument, neither is a cartwheel turned upon the cumin, but the fishes are beaten out with a staff, and the cumin with a rod. Verse 28. Bread corn is bruised, because he will not ever be threshing it, nor break it with the wheel of his cart, nor bruise it with his oxen. So there are different ways of administering, of doing things. This also cometh forth from the Lord, of hosts, who is what? Wonderful in what? Counsel. And what? Excellent in working. So, all these things they were describing, they were agricultural processes, they're not spiritual things. So they're saying that even in the natural, there's a way God can counsel, can help you, to work excellently, to make guided decisions. So I said, so for your career, the first thing is to have a sense of direction. I just tell when people ask me, how did I get into how did I get into psychiatry? After I knew that I was stuck with medicine, I looked at all the availables. I knew that I don't want to stay as a medical officer. My parents will not even allow you. They'll be disturbing my husband. They will say it's the one that is not allowing me to progress. So I said, okay, I have to do residency. So when it was not time to choose, my parents wanted me to do surgery. I just told them that this one that I even graduated, we should thank God. So when I wanted to choose, I looked at all the courses based on school. I looked at my flair, the kind of person I am, and I said, if I go into surgery, I will be a depressed person. My life would just be what? Miserable. I looked at O&G. O&G has money. There's people go into O&G because there is what? Plenty money. People will always give back. Even in economic depression, people will give back. So O&G, O&G has a lot of prospects to have a lot of money. And the same thing with surgery. Those are the two aspects that gives a whole lot of money. But I looked at O&G. I said, okay, there will be money. But the stress, actually the residency, the stress he was going to give, I said, I don't think that money, I like money, but not at the expense of the stress. I look at medicine. Medicine, we just be moving the stuff, and all the patient will still be dying. So I said, I'm not doing medicine. You just be reading and reading. There's no stuff you'll not be able to move in this world. I said, I'm not doing medicine. I looked at pediatrics. So I said, I'm not doing pediatrics. And then you will read and read and read, and it's just... So then I look at, how did I pick psychiatry? When I was doing my posting as psychiatry, our lecturers, they did not look like doctors. They were very opened. They were not stiff. I said, okay, this looks more like my person and what I would like. And then I found out that there's a way a doctor thinks. They just think in one straight jacket. But then for them, they're always thinking outside the box. They were more exploring in their mindset, and they could accommodate a lot of, sometimes when you see the way some doctors do, say, you're little by now. You understand? So I found out that they were like that. They didn't take, for them, they are more liberal. You can't compare them to a typical surgeon or an internist. They were more liberal. So I said, okay, I think I like this. I also like community medicine, public health, because it was more practical for me. And then it was more society impacting. But let me now tell you what, I did not pick community medicine. If you want to enter residency then, you must know, when they do residency form, 1,000 people will buy a form for community medicine. And they will ask space for only 10. I said, how many people do I know in this? The people will stay at home for 5 years, not getting a space to do residency. I said, I cannot afford that. Why should I? My father is not a political person, so that was how I struck out. And I've done something like community medicine as well. So I had to strike out community medicine because I had to look at the visibility of getting a space to do residency while I was in Ibadan. So I said the only option that will allow me to go for my children, when my children are doing children, because I like all of those things, give me time for family. I found out that was psychiatry. So I just picked psychiatry. So that was how I got into psychiatry. So I'm just telling you about, because that brings us to the next one. You should know yourself. Your goals. For me, family was a priority. My children, they were a priority. If I do some other whatever as a female, during residency, it would have been a lot of stress on my family. I wasn't ready at that formative stage to sacrifice that. You should know your aptitudes, what you can really take. If I wanted to do medicine, you will read and I've read enough that I did not want to go into that again. That you will have to read and read and read. You should know your personality, your flair. You understand what the kind of person you are. Then your interests, and of course, your values. So you can also use that to also, determine the kind of career path. You know, there's someone that you don't like meeting people, you are a shy person, you go and do customer service job. You know those customer service that just go, you're welcome, how can I help you? Okay, have you seen? And then you are someone that you don't like talking, you can't even look into people's eyes, you can't talk, and then you can't say that kind of, they will sack you, can you? So, you understand what I'm trying to say? So, you should know your person, you should know what, there are times that based on your natural flair, your natural personality, or maybe your things that you have acquired growing up, it can actually influence the kind of career you also take. You know, like that, let's look at that scripture. It said the gift of a man, does what? Maketh room for him and bringeth him what? Before great men. So if you're someone that is an orator, some people, they can talk. They can talk, they are funny. You can study medicine and go into MC and comedy because it's true. And they are making more money than doctors that are doing, do you have fever? How many days has your fever lasted? They make more money. Mr. Macaroni is making money more than them. So if you understand what I'm saying, that your natural, you can also explore your natural gifts. And all of those things that you can also explore. So I'm just saying that you should not box yourself. You can explore your natural gift. You have something that is very natural to you. You can explore it and choose a career path, in that place. So then you should take time to. So then I will now tell you. I've told you how I got myself in medicine. It was by what? It was by force. How I chose psychiatry was based on my person, my values, the goals, what I wanted. Then he told me when I was now picking even in psychiatry, we still specialized. So I specialized in geriatric psychiatry the whole day. I wanted to do child because I liked working with children. My parents had schools. So I already naturally had a flair for children. But I noticed that in that particular specialization, the person heading it was not really very warm towards me. Because that was also very important. She wasn't very warm to me. But I didn't even mind. I was still wanted to do child. I thought, okay, by the time I'm doing my part 2, I will do child. But I remember there was a day I slept and I had a dream. And in that dream, I saw one of my bosses. He's in geriatrics. It was during that time I was trying to make decision on what I would do. Then I saw him in the dream. And because then I'd been praying. Because the woman was not warm up to me. I was doing everything to make her like me. She was, the thing was not gelling. Then I had it and I saw that guy. Then the guy held a scroll. And then he gave it to me. He said, this is your work. He said, this is what you need. Then he was talking to me. Then he gave me that. He said, go and be using it. He said, I'm waiting for you. So immediately I woke up. I don't those kind of dreams. I knew that was the path God wanted me to go to. So I just, in fact, at that time, the most senior person in that unit, the prof I work with now, there are quite a number of people that were my superior then. He didn't even have my phone number. If he wants to talk to me, he will call my friend. He will say, tell her that she should call me. He did not save my number because he wasn't thinking that I will come into that unit. But after I said that, I did not even mind. But at the end of the day, I found that out of even all of us, that's why I know when God is working, there's a place of direction. By the time, because I had more sin, so in fact, I'm sure I've shared the testimony with you, how I got the job. People will finish residency, won't get space. But because I chose that course, it was at that time the CMD we had interest in geriatrics. So he was ready to do anything for geriatrics then. So because my seniors, some of them waited 3 years, 4 years after residency, and they did not get a job. So by the time I finished, I went to meet him and bring them. I said, no problem, we'll get a space for you. They created things that have never been done because that was what was his ardent. They created space. Then Prof also warmed up to me. So things just changed. And I knew that if I had done child, because eventually please don't record this place. Because eventually the CMD then